Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Tam. Welcome to the fam, and I'm back with a different kind of video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about consent. And consent, you ask, what do I mean? I mean consent in regards to reasons why consent is key. What is consent, y'all may ask? Consent occurs when a person voluntarily agrees to the proposal or desires of another. This term can relate in law, medicine, research, and sex. In regards to consent, in this video, we'll be talking about it in regards to sex and romantic relationships moving forward. Today's video is going to be a two-part series. Today is reasons why consent is key, and if you like this video, feel free to give it a like down below, and I will be doing another series where I am actually going to be telling you ways to establish consent in your relationships. I think consent is such an important topic to talk about, and that's why I'm talking about it today, and hopefully this is something that you guys can apply to your future relationships or on an everyday basis, because consent is mutual, consent is important, and consent is key. In Canada, the age of consent is actually 16, but there are specific rules here, so don't mind me if I look down. So in Canada, a 12 to 13-year-old can be sexual, but with somebody no more than 2 years older than them. 14 and 15-year-olds can actually be sexual or engage in sexual relations, but the person cannot be no more than 5 years older than them. Those are the rules for the age of consent up until 16. 16 would technically be the age of consent for Canada specifically. First reason why consent is key. Consent is important for your safety. Consent is present for your safety. Consent is being able to mutually discuss with your partner what you are and aren't comfortable with. Those are both very important factors to a healthy and stable relationship. You both should be mutually happy and down for whatever is happening, and consent is present to make sure that you are participating mutually. Any sexual activity such as kissing, fondling, oral intercourse of any type, and intercourse itself are within the realm of consent. Not asking or providing consent when engaging in these sexual activities is actually a form of sexual violence if found to be so. So making sure you're establishing consent is very, very, very important. If a person agrees to anything sexual or anything with sexual activity involved, it is always important that you get their consent in every stage of the progression of your relationship. If a person gives consent initially and becomes unconscious, subconscious, or alcoholically or drug abused in that instance, they are no longer capable of providing consent. That's why it is important that you ensure consent through every stage, as parties who are unconscious or potentially not in the right mind can not provide consent. So if that was all a bit confusing for you, just clarify, earlier consent does not mean consent throughout the entire interaction. So you have to be making sure that you're establishing consent at each stage in the relationship. The next reason why consent is so key is actually a topic or a subject that I've mentioned in my first point, and it's that if consent is not established, it's actually considered sexual violence. Now, sexual violence is actually not about the act of sex. It's about having fear or control involved in the actual interaction that makes someone not feel comfortable with what actually happened. I'll be putting a definition down right below me where I'm talking, so that you can understand the straightforward definition for what sexual violence is. It's just important to know the difference and to establish consent at every point in your relationship. Sexual violence is something that changes people's lives and should be talked about more often, and us as a society need to know that sexual violence is important, and being able to prevent it in any way possible should be a general practice, and that's why I'm making this video for you guys today. If you guys like this video, please feel free to give it a like, thumbs up, and subscribe. Wait, not thumbs up. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll be sure to continue to keep these videos coming. I hope you guys really appreciate them, and I hope to be more consistent in the near future. Next point for why consent is so key is consent is about communication. So if you can't communicate with your partner, what are you doing with them anyways? Communication is number one. You always hear people say in relationships, communication is key. So why not have it be a part of your general everyday conversation? Consent is about communication and having respect for each other as partners. What this means is you are able to give consent for each activity at that time. This gives you the opportunity to really and truly understand if you are happy with what you're doing, if you want what you're doing to continue to happen. And understanding your partner's boundaries as well as your own will help you to have a more respectful relationship with that person on a basic human level, honestly. Just as a heads up, consent is giving someone added permission to continue engaging in sexual activity. That could be monogamous relationships, that could be polyamorous relationships, that is in any relationship where you may be engaging in sexual activity at all. So these are some things to keep in mind if you are thinking about consent and how you can apply it to your daily lives. My last reason as to why consent is so key is that consent is not awkward, it's sexy. For a lot of people, when you think about consent and giving consent, it is very important to show that you respect a person's boundaries, you respect a person's ideals, and that you're okay with taking your time getting to know that person. If somebody is intoxicated, inebriated, or under the influence of alcohol or drugs, they cannot give consent. So you have to be conscious of that when you are participating in these relationships on an everyday basis. When I talk about consent being key and that it's sexy, not awkward, it's that there's been this societal buildup of consent being something that most people don't talk about. It's an awkward subject. It's something that's not comfortable for us to speak on. When in reality, it's quite the opposite, honestly. I know a lot of people, especially women, who appreciate a person, whether that be male or female or non-gender identifying, who appreciate somebody who takes their time, is respectful, or simply asks if they're okay in the situation instead of assuming. With consent, you never want to assume. That's the worst thing you could do, honestly. Coercion would fall into that. Anything where somebody says no at one point and then changes their mind may fall into that. So to avoid situations like that altogether, it's smarter to not assume and be completely clear with what you're saying. That's why I'm making this video for you today, so we can talk more about consent culture and what exactly is within that realm. Today's video is going to be reasons why consent is key, and the video following this will also be ways in how you can establish consent. So please look out for that. If you have any questions, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Leave them down below in the comment box, and I would love to respond to your questions if you have more about consent and consent culture. It's something that I'm very passionate about and would love to help out with if I can. Oh, and if you haven't followed me on my social medias, they're here. I'm Mountain Tea on all platforms, but my name is Tam, and this is The Fam. So we're gonna get into this video today, okay? All right.